So this video is going to be about when you were teaching at Lakewood College. So tell us about that.
Well, I had put a couple of years study into a doctorate course in to get a PhD in ecology, which your state shut down because we became too active. But I realized, studying ecology, that our civilization was headed towards a demise. And when I ended up in Minnesota with the Indians, I started to in-depth research what had happened previously, and I found that half the stuff our archaeologists were telling us was not only wrong, but completely wrong. And you hear about the Indian burial mounds. Well, the Indian burial mounds were after the fact. When a white man came, we said, "Oh, bury your dead in the soil," and the mounds were there. There are 75,000 of these mounds east of the Mississippi.
Wait a minute, because the Native Americans did not bury, they burned their dead, correct?
It's correct.
At least that's what I know of it.
Right. They put them up on racks. But the thing is, when the whites
so the
came,
burial mound, you're right, is just doesn't make sense.
Mounds, but there are burials in those mounds, but they're so deep, they're like 20 feet below the surface, and they're of a species or a race that we don't know what they were. And in one mound, they found a dozen giant skeletons. Other mounds, they found skeletons that were so old that they had just turned to dust. The skeletons that turned to dust. This is when they were still able to excavate the mounds, which is illegal now because they're classed as Indian burial mounds, which is true, but it's after the fact.
Well, let me ask you this. The Native Americans, they would know that, hey, we did not bury our dead, so why do we have burial mounds? Haven't they questioned it?
That's a good question. Can I deviate a minute? I was going up to Spirit Island on that lake, which is white people don't get on. And I had made arrangements to go there. That's a whole other story. And I went up there with my niece's husband, who looked like Custer. And his father had been a doctor on a reservation, and he had been raised on a reservation. But we went up, and the chief was drunk, and his wife was a librarian. She kept listening to me, and she said to her chief, "This man is not out to make money on this. He's out to record it for history's sake, to the glyphs," because I knew there were hundreds of glyphs on the island. I'd heard about it, and I was recording the glyphs for the Archaeological Society in Minnesota. Well, finally, his wife talked him into letting us go on the island. So he said, "Okay, go down by the island and have somebody meet you there." Well, the gentleman that met me there was a pretty tough-looking guy, and he said to me, "Why do you want to go on the island?" I told him, "Well, I want to record the glyphs." Then the second time he said, "Why do you want to go on the island?" And I said, I pulled out my letter from the Historical Society. He told me what I could do with that, and I didn't have to go. And now he put his nose right up against mine and said, "I'm asking you a question. Why do you want to go on the island?" And I have a theory. If everything else fails, tell the God's honest truth. And I said, "I'll tell you why. I don't think the Indians as we know them here made those glyphs." He growled at me and stood back as if he was going to slug me. And then he broke out and smiled. He said, "You know what? You're right. We didn't. But you whites keep telling us we did it. And you put up signs, see the Indian burial mounds, see the Indian glyphs. And we told you from day one that we didn't do them. But you keep insisting that we did. So we finally went along with you." He said, "You wait right here. I'll have some Indians come down with a couple canoes, and you can do whatever you want on the island. You can take rubbings, you can take molds, whatever you want to do, because you understand. But do you know who did the glyphs?" He said to me. I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "You do know, don't you?" I said, "Yes, I do know." We didn't have to explain to each other what I knew, because he knew I knew.
But maybe you need to explain to the people watching this video.
If you saw the glyphs, they are so perfect. They could not be done with a hammer and chisel. They had to be done with a laser beam. And they were done by UFOs with lasers.
Right.
Okay? And if you go into the book by Breckenridge, he actually observed it. when he's exploring the far west.
Wow.
And
Wow.
anyway, getting back to the mounds, there are 75,000 of them that are east of the Mississippi, and they are all over the world. And here's the thing: there was a book written about back in the mid 1800s, and they declared the man who wrote he's insane. They said, "Well, that's what you do with anybody who you disagree with. You see, if they're far out, well, they're crazy because you know more than they do. They think." He claimed, and this is before we had airplanes, maybe I forget what year it was anyway. He said, if I could see those glyphs from the air, I could read them. That's what he thought. He was crazy. If you see, but now there's a book in Minnesota, the Minnesota Aborigine of Minnesota. It's an $800 book. I bet I read it 2 or 3 times. In that book, it has an outline of all the mounds in Minnesota. And there is a pattern to them.
Huh.
There's a pattern to, and that pattern is all over. Wherever you go, the same pattern, as if it was Braille. And the mounds are there yet. Of course, they're being destroyed. I shouldn't call them mounds. I should call them earthworks.
Who's destroying them?
When you build cities, and the farmers bulldoze them. But there was the mounds are just so unbelievable. As you start studying them, they can devour you.
Wow.
Because then there's nobody you can talk to any longer. Because they think you're nuts. And the truth is, I
think you've experienced that.
And so you just keep it to yourself, and you say, you become a bit of a snob like I am, because you know more than they do. Well, they haven't put 40 years worth of research. The first course I taught on at the college here, there one guy drove 200 miles. He said, "I'm here to destroy you." I said, "Fine." I changed my opening to the course right away. I just brought out my 6 or 8 books from Smithsonian Institute. And by the time I got through with the 2 hours, he said, "Would you mind coming down to Winona and teach your course?" I said, "Yeah, if you're willing to pay me." But I would teach the course with 100% facts. Then after that, I'd say, now here's conjecture. Here's what you can look into.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you can think about. And you'll see that there are earthworks like in Newark, Ohio, that are like 15, 20 feet tall, and they go on forever. There's an earthquake up on a rainy river up in northern Minnesota. It goes on for 15 miles. Now, if you go to Cahokia Mountain in St. Louis, it's the size of, 4 times the size of that building over there.
Wow.
And I tell people go there, but do not go to the interpretive center, because it's just a bunch of crap. They say, the Indians built that mound with grass baskets, and so the chief could have a teepee on top of it. Well, that's about as stupid as you can get. The least I could say is, wow, what is this about? Of course, when our first explorers got to that area, the whole area was covered with white human bones, like there'd been an atomic war or something.
Wow.
According to one Indian, I picked him up. I was going to be interviewed by the doctors. I went to work for the Doctors Union in New York, and I was being interviewed in Ann Arbor. And I said, "Well, don't pick up anybody because you got to have that suit nice and clean for the interview." I put the suit in the back of my army, and there's a young guy way up on the exit to the highway. I pull over and I wave him down, and it's raining. He puts his bag on top of my suit. He was a young Indian. He was studying to be in the Medewan Lodge, and he and I hit it off right away. And we talked about the vitreous, the stone forts that had been melted. And he said there was a war with satellites and laser beams that got out of control. It wiped out everybody. you go into the mounds, and when you even get down into them, where there might be some mounds have like their bomb shelters, you'll see people sitting around a table down deep, and they'll all be charred. There
Wow.
always are charred rocks in all of the mounds.
Wow.
It's something that some archaeologists are starting to explore. Mainly Von Daniken opened the door, Eric Von Daniken. He opened the door that, hey, there's a lot more out here than we can.
Okay, so let's end with that. Eric Von Daniken, has he written a book or anything?
Oh, he's written several books.
Okay,
years
good.
ago.
And he's starting to go into these burial mounds and see what's really in them.
Well, he was mainly that there were prehistoric civilizations here.
Cool. Okay,
He wrote many books.
let's go next story. Okay,
Yeah, that's Von Daniken, not Van. Von.
Von Daniken.
Yeah, that's my mother's came from a Von.
Okay.
That means they're nobility, unless it's a capital deed and it's not royalty.
Aha. Okay, next story.